With the Pokemon World Championship happening later this week in Anaheim, California, I wanted to talk to all of you about what I think the best Pokemon of the format are, and just to have a general discussion about what teams I think will do well and what teams will make top 8 and probably even win the 2025 Pokemon World Championships. So, we're just going to start with the tier list. To keep it honest with all of you, a lot of these Pokemon they're not going to do well. They're going to be F tier, even like D and E. Just a lot of the Pokemon cannot keep up in this format. But we're going to start with Venusaur. I think Venusaur is actually fairly decent. It's I kind of think it's like a B plus Pokemon, where on the right team, it can put in so much work. It has pretty solid matchups into like Kyogre teams on Sun, like when you're running Sun, and just a bulky sleep powder user. Just feels really nice in this format. Charizard. I Charizard's probably a B. It can hit hard, and that's about it. Blastoise, straight in the D tier. Shell Splash and Water Spout is about all it has going for it. Arbok, F. Pikachu is also kind of like B tier. Just the ability to have Fake Out and Lightning Rod and to be able to hold an item like the Light Ball makes it somewhat viable. Raichu. I actually think Raichu is like B+. The Fake Out Lightning Rod, really good with the Kyogre, Helping Hand, just super good. Hello, Raichu, F. It doesn't do anything that's worthwhile. Sandslash, F. Alolan Sandslash, F. They're here for the same reason. They just don't do anything. They just die, take up a team slot, and that's it. Clefairy, B+. Just super good with Follow Me, and bulky with Eviolite. Clefable, I personally have an A. Same thing with Clefairy, but it's bulky, and it has Unaware. Ninetales, F. Alola Ninetales, I think is A tier. Maybe even, no, it's A+. Just the ability to spam Moonblasts and Blizzards, along with Aurora Bell, just makes it too good. Wigglytuff is F. Venomoth is F. Blossom is F. Vileplume is F. Alolan Dugtrio is also F. They don't do enough. They're just too slow to abuse chlorophyll, and they do nothing. Regular Dugtrio, I personally think is a little better, and I have it in E, just because of Arena Trap. If you can get it in position against a Specs Miraidon, and it's using an electric move, it feels really good. Persian is F. Alolan Persian, I think, is C. Pretty good. Fake Out Mon with Parting Shot and everything. Feels nice. Berserker, I think, is like D. It can do some stuff, it's just not good enough. Golduck is F. Annihilate, I personally have an A+. Between Final Gambit, coaching sets, and like even the slightly bulkier sets running Rage Fist and Drain Punch, Annihilate feels really good. Arcanine is like C. It's good, it doesn't really contribute enough with Incineroar there. With Hisuian Arcanine, it does everything that Arcanine's wanting to do, but it has rock typing as well, which allows it to hit a lot more Pokemon super effectively or neutrally. Polygrath. It's E. The fact that you can... It's a pretty decent Swisswomon with quite a few moves. Whereas, I would have it lower, except for the fact it does have coaching. Encore, Endeavor, Haze, Helping Hand, Knockoff, Icy Wind. It can do some stuff, it's not going to beat out many of the better options. Polytoad. To me, Polytoad is like C. It does what it wants to do, and it sets up rain reliably. And it gets Perish Song for end games, but it does not contribute enough to the early and like mid game. Victor Bell is F. It just doesn't do enough, sadly. Tentacruel is also F. Just doesn't have enough going. Golem, both Golems are F. Well, they might be E. You know what they're going to do, but it's fairly hard to stop them from exploding. Especially regular Golem, since it has 30, where you have to respect it. But it allows your partner Pokemon to just do whatever it wants. I personally think Slowbro may be E tier. Just the ability to not be crit makes it kind of fun, and it's bulky, and it can disrupt enough. The other three though are just not worthwhile. Magnezone F. Dodrio's F. Dugong is F. Muck is F. I think Alolan Muck, if we went back to running like the bulky berry sets, I think is actually pretty good. Cloyster is garbage. I think Gengar is like D tier. It can do enough to kind of be annoying, but it's not going to win you any games on its own. Hypno is unplayable. Electrode's unplayable. Hisuian Electrode can be funny, just with Chloroblast, but not really viable. Executor is a fun Trick Room mod. It kind of pairs well with like Sun teams, where you can like alternate between slow and fast. I think it can be fun. Alolan Executor is just not good. Hitmonlee can do some unburdened shenanigans. Hitmonchan is just not viable in any way. Hitmonlee is a decent Intimidate Mon with Fake Out. I think regular Weezing, though, is like D tier. Neutralizing Gas is crazy, but I think that you want the Fairy coverage just for like, it does so good into Koraidon, Miraidon, a lot of the fighting types, but also it allows you to swap in on like Draco Meteors. So, for that reason, Galarian Weezing, I think I'm going to put in, honestly, I'm going to put in A+. Rhyperior is F. Chansey and Blissey are both F, even with their HP, they just can't keep up. Kingdra. I personally put Kingdra in like high B tier. With its ability to like actually do decent damage and how fast it is under like rain, with Icy Wind and Draco Meteor and everything, it can do really good. Scyther is F. Fizzor, I think it's like a C tier Pokemon, where the matchups where it's good, it's really good, but once you get it out of that, it has too many like weaknesses. Cleavor is actually like really fun. Rocks put in a lot of work in this format, just with how many mons want to run Sash and just how much rock weakness we have. But Cleavor itself is just kind of inconsistent at it. Okay. Electabuzz. I personally put Electabuzz and Magmar both in A tier for just being really good support mons. Being able to redirect and just annoy your opponent. Especially Magmar with the chance to burn. Electivire and Magmortar. They want to do something similar to what Magmar and Electabuzz want to do, except they can't hold the EV light, and they're too awkward to do anything else. Both of the more generic Tauros forms, I think, are F tier. But I think the water Tauros is like an E. And I think Fire Tauros is like a C. Arcanine and Tauros want to do similar things, but I think it's slightly better with close combat. I think Gyarados is a B tier. The water typing, along with the bulk that it has with Thunder Wave, it's really annoying, and in the teams where it works, it really works. Lapras is F. Ditto is kind of weird. Like, depending on like what teams are meta. I mean, Ditto could range from like A plus to D. So I think kind of putting it in like the B territory is okay, where it's like extremely matchup dependent. But if you like hard loose to Calyrex, Shadow, or Zamazenta, Ditto is a really fun option. Most of the Eevee forms are just gonna be an F tier. None of them really do anything to stand out beyond Umbreon and Sylveon. Umbreon is kind of team dependent, but I think it's like a good C tier option where it can support the team if it needs to. And it's reliable on the teams that it can be on. Sylveon, I think, is B plus. On Trick Room teams, it does a lot of work. It's kind of bulky, but it can't live like a restricted hit. But it's just so consistent into the legendary Pokemon. It hits so many of them for super effective or neutral damage that they just cannot keep. They have to address it, and so many teams just don't. Porygon 2 is, in my opinion, like the best unconventional Trick Room setter right now. I personally think it's like a B tier Pokemon, where it does so good into a lot of the legendaries, but just it can't keep up with, in my opinion, like the top 5. Porygon Z is C tier. It does a lot of damage, but that's about it. Like adaptability boosted hyper beams will pick up crazy KOs. But just that's about all it has. Snorlax is about D tier. I put it in like about where I put Muck for the bulky sets. Where on the teams that it does good on, it does really well. Just the ability to just take a hit, set up a belly drum, go into Trick Room, and then, oh, I'm hitting you with Facade and picking up one hit KOs. Not every game's going to go that way, but when they do, it feels really good. Articuno is like a D tier. If you were running a Alolan Ninetales on a team and you had Velop, I think Articuno could be fun, but I don't think it's going to win any tournaments. Most of the Kanto birds and their variants are going to be an F tier. No, that ain't true. This one will be. Zapdos is C. No, it's D. It doesn't do enough into the major restricteds, but I think on the right team, it could be fun into more of the balanced teams. Moltres is really good on Kyogre teams, but I think the best you could do is put it in C tier, because a lot of the flying coverage on Kyogre teams is going to be covered by Tornadus. Galarian Zapdos, I think, is interesting. It's a fast coaching mon that has fighting and flying stab, so it's kind of unique in that way in this format. Let's see. It's the Define ability makes it really fun into stuff like into like Incineroar balance teams, and you can threaten it with close combat. It does get knockoff along with like low kick and taunt, tailwind. But the one I'm always interested in is Thunderous Kick, where if you carry this, it does really good damage into Incineroar at +1, but then you can threaten stuff like dropping Koraidon's defense and then hitting it with another Pokemon. Galarian Moltres, I still think it's good after Sword and Shield, but it's fallen out of grace quite a bit. Because if you can get its ability to proc, it feels insane. Like it can run away with games on its own. But without the ability procking, it's just okay. Dragonite, I think is A+. Dragonite just has so many sets you could prepare for, multi-scale, inner focus, all the different items. Is whenever I look at a team sheet, it's always the mon that I go to first. Just because all it takes is not reading the ability or the item, and you've lost the game to Dragonite. Mewtwo is F tier. If it did not take your restricted slot, it would be okay. Like if it was just the fact it's restricted makes it horrendous. Meganium is F tier. For alligators, F. Or it's F. Meganium is just notoriously bad, probably the worst starter Pokemon we have. And personally, I don't think Feraligatr is much behind. Feraligatr is just too slow, doesn't do enough. Ferret. Typhlosion, though, I think it's fun, but I think it's E at best. Hisuian Typhlosion, I think is C. Just the ability to not be faked out, along with just fast eruption, feels really good. Noctowl is F, Ariados is F, Lantern is F, Ampharos is F, Sudowoodo is F, Ambipom is F, Sunflora is F. They're just, all of these are just too mediocre. They don't do enough in any situation, and they will cost you a game. Azumarill is like B tier. Huge power and belly drum come together to make a really interesting Pokemon. I just think it falls short whenever the power level is creeping so high. Jumpluff is B+. It's here for the same reason as Venusaur, but it's better in a lot of ways. With Strength Sap being able to recover it, along with Sleep Powder, and the ability to set up Tailwind, it probably fits the team better, but Venusaur is better into certain matchups. Yanmega. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of a lot of the F tier Pokemon, just really quickly. I think it is safe to actually continue going through the list now. Murkrow. I personally think Murkrow is still, like, okay. But it's, like, E tier. It's, like, still a good Tailwind, Haze Pokemon. I think has gotten better with the amount of setup we have and foul play and everything else. But it just falls, like, slightly too short. Oh, I missed one. Farigiraf is like my first Pokemon. I'm going to personally put an S. I think Farigiraf is insane. The amount of coverage it puts out for the team, along with just getting rid of all priority, is beyond broken. Overquill, though. On Kyogre teams, Overquill feels really good. Just the ability to drop special defense by 2 with Acid Spray, and then just be a general nuisance, feels really good on a Kyogre team. Allows you to pick up so many KOs that you normally just couldn't even consider. Sneasler is weird. I personally think Sneasler is like B tier in this format, where if you hit a Dire Claw and your opponent gets paralyzed or put to sleep, it feels like the most broken Pokemon you've ever saw, and Unburden lets it do that. But normally what ends up happening is you send Sneasler out, it hits one time, and it dies. But you normally can do something with the other Pokemon, like I've ran it with Galaric Shadow, and being able to set up a nasty plot as I went, because my opponents normally double target Sneasler. And it's like, they hit it, use my Sash, Unburden activates, I hit a Dire Claw, and now my Galaric Shadow's at, +2 from Nasty Plot. It doesn't always work, but it feels good. Personally, I think Ursaluna is S tier. Ursaluna it feels so good. With Guts, Facade, Terra Normal, Terra Ghost, Setup. You always have to respect it. And Trick Room teams can just make such use of it. I think Blood Moon has fallen, though. Blood Moon's A tier. We just have so many special attackers now that on a lot of teams it almost feels redundant to me. Or it's just slightly not doing enough damage. But the ability to hit Ghost type still feels really good, so it might actually be closer to A+. Smeargle is A. I don't have to explain. It's just so versatile. I think Suicune and Raikou are like E. They both can do some stuff that's kind of neat. Since Raikou's still one of the only Pokemon that gets Scald in this generation, it can do some like goofy stuff to cover its like ground weakness. And Suicune is just Suicune. Really bulky, gets up Tailwind. I think Entei is A tier. Between the AV sets and the band sets, Entei can just do so much. With Entei specifically, if we go to the Terra Normal Choice Band set, and we bring up just Koraidon, for instance, we're gonna go for the Life Orb one. In the Sun, Sacred Fire is a 96% chance to 2-hit KO. And, that's one of the worst Pokemon you can hit with it. Is we look up something more neutral, like... not even neutral, we're going to go for Calyrex Ice. We're going to do the bulky Leech Seed one. Sacred Fire is an 18% chance to OHKO. The Mon just feels so good, and whenever I've been running it with Sword of Ruin. And there's very few Mons in the format that want to eat an attack from it. Tyranitar, I think Tyranitar's good. I think it's like a B tier. I just think it's hard to build around right now. Where you're kind of forced to pick like an offensive legendary, like Miraidon or something. Miraidon. But for your secondary, you want something that's kind of not going to take the sand chip. And that tends to just be like Zacian or Zamazenta. And it quickly turns into, why am I playing Tyranitar? Rather than, what is it actually doing? Lugia, I think is E. It's fun to play with. It can do some stuff and run away with games, but it's just not consistent. I'm going to put Ho-Oh in A. Ho-Oh, I personally think is a Pokemon that will make a resurgence at the World Championship, just due to how many Calyrex Shadows on Magenta teams are running around. Blaziken, I put in D tier. In combination with Speed Boost and Life Orb and everything else you can do with them on, it can actually do some pretty substantial damage into a lot of the field, and feel really good while doing so. Swampert and Sceptile. Sceptile has Shed Tail, which makes it kind of fun, since with legendaries something like Shed Tail gets better. but it's just not the Pokemon to do so. And Swampert is just fun and consistent at like what it wants to do. It's just not good enough at what it wants to do. Ludicolo is like C tier, just fake out, and everything else it can do is really fun. I wish it was just a little better at this format. Pelipper is A, just an alternate rain mon that doesn't take your restricted slot. Gallade's really fun on Trick Room teams with Sharpness and Sacred Sword, but that's about it. I missed a few. Tropius gets Wide Guard and Tailwind, which is kind of like a unique combo of moves for a Pokemon. And it can be really fun. Definitely not worth running at a tournament, but if you need that combination, it can do it. Sableye is like, I think it's B. Slightly inconsistent at times. A lot of people double target it, but it feels good when you can pull it off. Volbeat. Volbeat gets Tail Glow and Baton Pass. So it's really fun to like set up a Tail Glow and then swap into like a Flutter Mane on a Koraidon team. Or it's really gimmicky, but it just feels so fun that I have to include it somewhere. Torkoal's D, still like good damage for what it is, but only on Trick Room. Milotic is also D. It's probably C. Competitive boost just feel really good on Milotic when they actually work. Dusclops is still usable, but it's like the 5th best Trick Room setter in the format. Salamence it's a B tier. It's fun on like Kyogre teams where you can spam Hurricane and need the Intimidate, but that's about it. Registeel is D. Like, it's usable and fun, but not worthwhile. Metagross is just falling off a lot. I think Latios and Latios are both still usable for a lot of the same reasons. They're just bulky enough that they live a lot of the fire, water, grass teams and can set up a Tailwind, can hit like the Mist Ball or Luster Purge. That I still think they're fairly viable. Kyogre is S. Kyogre is just still as consistent as ever. And Groudon is probably A. Where Groudon can still do what it wants to do. It just feels way more hindered. Rayquaza is like D. Paranormal Extreme Speed still does work, but nothing else. Empoleon is basically doing the same thing Milotic is, just with a Steel type. Staraptor gets Final Gambit and can do some funny stuff. Bastiodon is really interesting. On Trick Room teams, it can set up Iron Defense and Body Press, and it's immune to sound moves because it has the ability Soundproof. Gastrodon can do really good in like Kyogre, Miraidon teams, but it struggles into most of the rest of the format. I think Bronzong is slept on. I think it's B. Cannot go any higher than that. But the gyro ball that it has, it can hit a lot of stuff pretty solid, and it gets Trick Room. Rotom Wash, it falls short now. It's probably D tier, but it still has everything that made it good before, but the power creep of the game just keeps moving it down the list. I think Origin Dialga and regular Palkia are really fun options for like trick room citric teams, where you can have telepathy and let your Ursaluna Earthquake. They're not consistent enough, but when you pair them with like Calyrex Ice Rider or something in that vein, they feel really good. Regular Dialga is quite a bit lower, and regular Palkia is even lower. It's just too fast and just more awkward than Origin is. Heatran is still good, just it's falling off a lot, and there's not really much that can help it. I personally think Regigigas is like D, or it can do something if you're already running one of the Wheezing forms. But otherwise, it should not even be considered. Giratina can do a lot of damage on the Origin form, to the point where like even breaking swipes and moves of that vein can become extremely threatening. Cresselia is, in my opinion, the best non-legendary Trick Room setter. No, second best non-legendary Trick Room setter. Where it can heal your partners, set up Trick Room, if you're really insane, ally switch, but it just has so much for it. All of the Gen 5 starters are F. They just don't do enough. Excadrill, I think, is D. If you're running Tyranitar, it could actually be, like, really fun and threatening into Miraidon. Conkeldurr is a pretty fun Guts Pokemon with priority. Whimsicott is S tier. Encore, Blight Screen, Tailwind, it has too much. Hisui and Lilligant. It's going to be right here with Jumpluff and Venusaur for a lot of the same reason, except physical attack. And I think that almost makes regular Lilligant F just borderline unusable. Female Basculegion, all same boat. Male Basculin is like B. On Kyogre teams, it's really good. Last Respects is good. It can be fun. Zoroark, I think, is F. A Hisuian Zoroark, I think, is like C. The amount of disruption and like wariness it can make in a game deems it displacement in my eyes. Gothitelle. It can't work for every team, but if you are running Perish Trap, since it's so essential, and just how much of a threat it can be, I think it's B+. I think Amoonguss, you're not Amoonguss. I think Amoonguss is S tier. By far the best Spore Pokemon we have. So resilient, and it can do so much. Chandelure is really fun into like a lot of teams, but its ability to completely shut down Koraidon. And honestly, most Koraidon teams, since a lot of Fluttermane have dropped Shadow Ball. It does so much work into that style of team. Mean Shao gets Fake Out and Wide Guard, which about auto puts it in the top of the C. King Gambit is still really good, but it's just so many different things now can kind of farm it. Where I think it's probably like top of B tier. Hydreigon, just the 4x fairy weakness makes it pretty hard to use with the fairies in the format, but it can still put up solid work. Volcarona, A+. So, Volcarona can just do so much. It can set up on you, it can redirect, tailwind. It's one of the craziest Pokemon in the format. Cobalion can still kind of do, not Cobalion, Terrakion can still kind of do the beat up strats. And they're fairly fun. Tornadus is S+. I was kind of going between where I wanted Whimsicott and Tornadus, but Torn just feels so much more reliable in most situations. Incarnate form, Thunderous can be really fun on rain teams, but that's about all it has going for it. Regular Thunderous, I think, is slightly better, just with the ability to spam Thunder Wave and Scary Face be annoying. Both of the, actually, 4 of the Gen 5 legendaries, I would personally put in F. They have no real use or just surely outclassed like in Zekrom's case. And that's okay, but it's just really sad to see. Regular Landorus is at like A+. No, A. Where it's so good into so many teams and just it puts in crazy work. Therian form Landorus is B. It's fallen quite a bit. Kyurem White is E tier, where the snow teams and some of that other stuff are really fun, but I just don't think good enough. Chestnut is a really fun, like, support wide guard Pokemon. Good enough that I think it's B tier. Greninja is E. It's all borderline unusable. Then Talonflame is honestly E. It can do some stuff, but it's just there to set up Tailwind, and there's plenty of better options. Okay. Hisui and Gudra. Iron Defense, Body Press, can't be crit. I think it's D, where it's really fun and it's consistent into a lot of stuff. And especially with Terra, you can wall out games with it, very similar to Zamazenta. But you can't be crit to lose all your boosts. Avulag, well, oh goodness. Oh, I can't think of what it's called. Hisui and Avulag is really interesting as a Trick Room like attacker, but plenty of better options. Trevenant has Harvest, so it can recycle its berry and just be annoying while doing decent damage. Incineroar, S+, the best support Pokemon we've ever saw. Primarina is like D. It can do really good on like more balancey kind of teams where it can just spam Hyper Voice. Because there's still a lot of Pokemon that are fairly weak to water. And it's a spread water special attacker that doesn't take your restricted slot. Whereas a Pokemon I think is kind of underrated is Bruxish. Where I don't think it's F, but it's close. It's E. It stops priority. And, does it with an ability rather than terrain. So it can do, like, it's like the same thing as like what Farigiraf and Serena does, but just worse because of what Pokemon it is. That said, Serena I think is still good. It's like C. It's like on a Kyogre team. It's really good. Outside of that, not so much. Araquanid is D. If you get it on Trick Room and in Rain, and if you set up everything perfectly, it's a crazy Pokemon. If you don't, it tends to just be okay. Whereas Mimikyu, I think, is arguably kind of better. Where it's probably like a C tier mon, where it can reliably get Trick Room up and to be annoying in it. Where Solgaleo is just annoying. Is it just does not take enough damage whenever you think it should. And it can hit back pretty hard, but the format's just really unfavorable. I put it in D tier, where it's good, just not good enough. Lunala is A+. Lunala is just insane. It's one of the best Trick Room setters and sweepers in the entire format. And it's just so hard to punish. With wide guard, setup, you always gotta be on your toes. Dawnwing's Necrozma, I think, is like a B tier, where it can do a lot. It just has to have so much more support than Lunala does. Duskmane is E, is if you want to make it work, you can. But it's a lot more effort than it's worth. Rillaboom is an A tier, where so many Pokemon can just hit Rillaboom for serious damage that I can't really put it higher. Even though I think it's one of the most consistent Pokemon in the format, I just do not think it's the same kind of power level. Um, hmm. Okay. I think Corviknight is interesting. Where I still think it's good, but it's lost a lot of what I had. Being bulky and being able to set up Tailwind and just be annoying, I think justifies D. And I also put out Creamy there because of Decorate. Grimmsnarl is it's A. The screens plus just how annoying its support can be really help it teams just sweep with it. Female Indeedee is the best non-legendary Trick Room setter. So good that I put an S. Is the ability to set up terrain and just how annoying it can be, I think justifies it. Male Indeedee is way more niche. I like E tier at best. It's just going to be an expanding core spot. Our Chaladon is B. It's a really fun Pokemon on rain teams, but once you get it off a rain team, I just don't think it has enough going for it in the current format to keep up with everything else that's going on. Dragapult's still really fast and hits really hard. B+. Um, non-rusted sword Zacian is like D, where having it hold covert cloak and going for setup is really fun. But without the steel typing and coverage, it doesn't do as much. Regular Zacian, I put A. It feels really good still. It's just slightly not enough. If it had a better fairy move. Zamazenta is S. Zamazenta's insane. It's one of the few Pokemon that I think can just steal a game. Eternatus is like fun, and on certain teams it can do a lot of work, but I just don't think it's good enough at what it does. I personally have both Urshifu forms and S+. They are just so consistent and can be so annoying to play against. Regieleki is like B tier. Really fast speed control can be annoying. And that's about all it wants to do. Regidrago is really fun with just spamming extremely powerful dragon type attacks. Both Calyrex forms I also have an S+. They're two of the top mons of the entire game. There's very few Pokemon I would put above them. Both Enamorous forms are pretty awful. Quaquaval's fun, but just if you can get it going with like Moxie and Aqua Step, it can be really annoying. Meowscarada is about the same. Skeledirge I think is slightly better, but not much. Garganacl's interesting because it's resist Ghost and it gets Wide Guard, but just not really consistent. Stirledge I think is D, Ally Switch and being annoying. I think Armory is just slightly better, but you have to kind of have Psychic Terrain in my opinion, or be running the Meteor Beam set. Revival Blessing I think is fun, but like not really good, so it's kind of like gimmicky, but I think I'd do C tier. If you had Trick Room set up and it could get it reliably, it's really annoying whenever you go all the way through Calyrex Ice, and then like last turn of Trick Room, oh, Calyrex Ice is alive again. Palafin is E, like it can still work, Jet Punch is still annoying, but it's just not really good enough at this point. And the part that makes it so bad is just Water Urshifu exists. Glimmora, I have an A. Glimmora still feels really good, but it's kind of team specific. I also have Dondozo in A. Dondozo, especially when paired with Tatsugiri, is crazy. But Tatsugiri, as a standalone, is C tier, like bottom of C tier. Mon is not good, and if I see solo Giri, I know it's going to be some degenerate stuff. Quite a few of the Paradox Mons just go straight into F. They're borderline unplayable. But Great Tusk still hits hard. Screamtail can still Encore disable you in Paris Song. Fluttermane is one of the top dogs of the whole format. Iron Shreds is really good into Miraidon teams. Bundle, I think, struggles, but is one of the better Pokemon in E tier. Iron Hands is honestly insane. It might be the best Pokemon in S tier. Because it feels so game warping. I would not be surprised if it won Worlds. Iron Jugulis is really good, and I think like B, but it's kind of Kyogre specific. Excalibur is almost unplayable. Wo-Chan's almost unplayable. Iron Leaves has a couple things. But Monkey Dory and Pheasantipity and Okidogi do not. Iron Moth is bad, but like fun bad. Golden Go I still think is good. It's just kind of taking a hit with Galaxy Shadow. Chin-Pao is really good, and Chi-Yu is really good. I think they're kind of in that A+ territory, where you have to respect them, but if I don't see them on a team, I'm not surprised. Ting Lu, I think, is still good. It's just taken a big hit with all of the super strong special and physical attackers. Roaring Moon is a just really good tailwind mon. Iron Valiant is fun, and it has Icy Wind and a lot of support. But it feels like everything it wants to do, it can be done better by one of the other mons up here. And now we're on to our last two S tier mons. Koraidon, S+, well, Koraidon and Miraidon. They're actually, I would probably put it, like, this is my order for S tier. Probably drop both Urshifu forms down, where I tend to think they're more overall reliable. And I did move Rillaboom up just because, after thinking about it, I do think it's better than the rest of A. Now, Sinistcha. Sinistcha's probably D. On really hard Trick Room teams, it still has a place. Iron Boulder can hit really hard and be annoying, but it's just the ability to go through Protect is still just really good and slept on. But here at the end, I think Walking Wake is probably just like solid B, where it does really good on certain teams. Regular Ogerpon is, in my opinion, C. It just doesn't have enough. And that's also where I have Water Ogre. I have Fire Ogre in B tier just because of the attack boost. It does really good. And Rock Ogerpon I have an A. It's really good redirection. Whisk 30 just makes it really hard and annoying to fully get rid of. I also have Raging Bolt in A+. Raging Bolt is just still one of the top dogs. I have both Gouging Fire and Iron Crown in D, where if you have a team where they fit, they can put in a lot of work. It's just hard to find that team. And the last mon, Terapagos, I think is A+. Where if it won the World Championship, I would not be surprised, but I could not get it there. Alright, so that's the end of the tier list section of the video. Now I want to talk briefly about what I think is going to win. Where I'm expecting, everything in the S tier to appear. But if there was one team I'm going to bet on, it is Miraidon, Calyrex Ice, or Miraidon Kyogre. Where in all of my playing, them two teams have just seemed the most dominant to get paired into. Whereas I think Cali Shadow Zamazenta is really good. But I think everyone is going to be so prepared for it that it's not going to win. I think it's going to get top 8, top 4, but just fall short. But we will all know in just a few days.